Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. I'm going to be switching it up a little bit today because I decided I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes in my head with regard to the podcast. Yeah, that's right. I am not talking about body image. I'm not talking about parenting or motherhood. I want to talk about entrepreneurship, if you will. I say it like that because, I don't know, I'm not really making money at this, but I'm trying, building a business. I want to talk about creating content, passion, ambition, and all of those things because I am feeling a little stuck. I love podcasting. I have no intention of stopping. I just want to get that clear off the bat. But when it comes to taking the next steps, I am experiencing some mental blocks. I want to monetize. I want to create more video and social media content. I want to collaborate with other creators. But aside from the ever-present push and pull of my time being limited or the feeling that my time is limited, I feel like I'm stuck in the mud a little bit on which triggers to pull, which avenues to go down. But with the help of some friends this week, and of course my therapist, I'm realizing that I'm struggling with these decisions because I've lost touch a bit with why I'm doing all of this. So let me explain. When I started this podcast, it was to bring awareness to mental health, to share the benefits of therapy, and to clear up all the misconceptions out there about what therapy is, who it's for, how it can help. And ultimately, I wanted to normalize conversations around mental health. And while that is certainly still a passion of mine, I've realized, here we are 128 episodes in, that a key element to all of this is my own self-development. I have quite literally benefited from every conversation I've had on this show. And for lack of a better way to say it, I have used the conversations for my own personal growth, which is kind of fabulous, right? But it's also meant that what started out as, let me just help people and explain more about therapy and mental health and da-da-da-da, it's become extremely personal to me, and I'm so deep in it every week, every episode, that it's a little bit challenging to see the bigger picture. It's a little bit challenging to pull myself out of what I'm personally getting out of the show versus, okay, this is a business. And so I want to share a little bit about some of the things that happened last week. It was a pretty transformative week. First up, I interviewed Lindsay Kasuba. That episode's coming out soon. And she shared with me how she started her meditation practice and how it's changed her life. Okay, we've heard this before, right? Let's just put that aside for a second. Later that day, I joined Adriana Keefe for her free mastermind on human design, and I learned how my specific human design is such that these are the sorts of things that I should do in my business, in marketing, to work best with my design. My gosh, I really I fumbled through that one a little bit, but basically how to work with your human design within your business versus trying to force yourself to do things that just don't really align with who you are, right? Okay. And at the end of the call, Adriana and I had a few minutes alone, and I shared with her just a sentence or two about the stuckness that I'm feeling. And she's also known, a little bit about me from she was on the show twice. She's a friend. We've chatted. And ultimately, she was like, it sounds like you need to slow down, take a step back, and meditate on it. And so when two people you like and two people you trust tell you that you need to meditate, it means a little bit more, I think, than just hearing it from all of the other places. It also just was the same message twice in one day for completely different reasons. And so I was like, okay. You guys know I've wanted to meditate for years, and I've even started, little challenges with myself off and on that have never really took. But you'll hear more about it in the episode with Lindsay, but she suggested the Calm app, and there's a 30-day beginner's challenge with Jeff Warren. And long story short, and really what I mean by long story short is you will hear her thoughts and my reflections in much greater detail when the show airs, but I have stuck with it. I have stuck with this challenge, Lindsay. And at the time that I'm recording this, I have done 8 straight days of meditating, and more importantly and even more valuable is that it is exactly what she said, is that you actually learn how to meditate. You're not just sitting there with a guided meditation wondering, is this working? Jeff really takes time to, teach you what it is you're doing and give you tools on how to do it. And like I said, I'll go into that more when her episode airs. But anyway, the point is that things are clicking there. Things are starting to click there and feeling good there. And then the next day, so I interviewed Lindsay, had the call with Adriana. The next day, I joined Amanda's podcasting mom Zoom call. You can find Amanda over at Gotcha Mama. It is a free monthly Zoom call for moms who podcast, and my friend Megan Moran was on the call. She joined me on episode 80 of the show, and Megan and I keep in touch here and there, but it had been a minute since we connected with the holidays and such, and when I saw her on the call, I remembered that she had checked in with me over Instagram and I hadn't responded to her. So, I was seeing her face. I was like, whoa, wait, I have to respond to her. And I did. And, Megan is great. She always checks in with me. There is a part of me that just as like a normal person and not a coach always feels a little bit funny. Like I don't ever want to take advantage of what is a personal relationship for a moment of coaching. But Megan is very generous and she's often inquisitive about what is going on. And I just thought, you know what? Let me give her a sentence or two of what's going on here. And I asked her if she would go back in time and put herself in the shoes that I'm currently in my business, in my podcasting journey, and if she could share with me if there were 2 things that she did to really help her, get past this point. And now, if you know Megan, she's just really smart, genuine, and has a true pulse on the self-development world, the entrepreneurship world, the mom world, and I won't bore you with all of the details of our exchange, but she hit me with the concept of her concept of guiding compass. So broadly put, this is your mission, your vision, your legacy, your why. And I realized that I could not answer those questions easily or quickly about this show anymore. And it made me wonder, I went back and I looked at what I had written down in journals and notebooks and different exercises I had done before starting this show. And I learned 2 things. I learned that back before I started this show and I did all those mission, vision, why exercises that my answers were entirely too broad at the time. And I also learned that, I don't know if I really learned this, but I just realized that I know so much more now. I can read what I wrote down in those journals and notebooks about why I started this show, and I have so much appreciation for that girl. She was just bursting with excitement, and but she was really green and she was cute. She was new to self-development, and she was also struggling so much in her own head and heart and body that I can understand why that version of myself found it really difficult to go deeper into the mission, vision, and why. So I am learning that I really need to spend some time diving back into the heart of why I'm doing this. But I also needed guidance on looking forward. Megan also hit me with, what does success look like for you? And again, I have some really vague, generalized ideas about that answer, but I know enough to know now that you gotta be a lot clearer than I am. And right now, I know that why I need to be a lot clearer on it is that my lack of clarity is what is causing some stuckness. It is hard to know which direction to choose, which next step to take, when I don't have a clear understanding of what the final destination is. And to be clear, I think that over the course of life, of business, of this podcast, the final destination is going to keep evolving and growing. But at any given moment, you need to know what it is in the moment. You feel me? Okay, just keeping on with all the things that happened last week. I also caught episode 1012, like really 1012, episode 1012. Man, girl, of Heather Chauvin's podcast. Is called 4 Steps on How to Create Your Next Level Vision. And she said something that really has me thinking. She was talking about how in business development, in self-development, really any aspect of your life, there's phase 1 and phase 2. And she talks about how phase 1 is kind of like the jumping off the cliff phase of just like taking the chances, of trying new things, of taking leaps, and really just about expansion. And phase 2 is about consistency. Phase 2 is mastering all of the aspects of that expansion, of those leaps you took. And, she shares that phase 1 can be a year long. Phase 2 can be a year long. It can be, whatever it needs to be for you. But what hit me about it is that I'm not actually sure which phase I'm in. And what hit me then further about that is when I asked myself, why aren't I sure which phase I'm in? I think it might be because I want so badly to be in phase 1, but I think I actually am in phase 2. And so now I really need to think about that. I want to be taking leaps, but is this just a phase where I need to be mastering the leap that I've already taken? And how am I going to then cope potentially with wanting to be in phase 1, but really being in phase 2? Or am I thinking that I'm really in phase 2 because I'm scared of phase 1? Like, I don't know. I'm not going to answer it on this podcast because I don't actually know the answer yet. But, I don't know. It's a tough one. And I need to take it to therapy. So that being said, staying true to the original why behind why I started this show, and I don't know. I have taken a lot of what you've heard me already talk about, some of my conversation with Megan, Lindsay, Adriana, and I just want to say that I did take it to therapy, and I do want to continue to share the message that therapy can help you with things like this, because this is where I really dissect things and figure out and learn and discover what's valuable to me, what I need to put aside. And so, like I said, going back to the original point of this podcast, is therapy is not just for one thing. Like, I use therapy a lot to help me with my show and to help me figure out what I want to do with this business that I'm doing here. And based on all that, we came up with some pretty cool ideas that you will likely see, some changes on the show in the next couple of months. I'm excited. All right, but why am I sharing all this with you? I am sharing it with you, and I say all this to say that I want to remind you that we all go through these growing pains, you know, like whether you're a creator, a business owner, or you work in a corporate job, reevaluating and evolving is part of the process. And anyone who looks like they have it all figured out, well, they don't. Okay? They don't. No one has it all figured out. I look at Megan and I am in awe of how much she gets done and all the things, and I just see her as this person that's got her stuff together. And she, openly shared with me the points in her business that she struggled with that I would have no idea about if I didn't ask her. So, and not to say like Megan's the only one, I'm just growing pains, okay? Growing pains. But I think more importantly, I want to remind you that, everyone needs help. I needed help this past week. I'm going to continue to need their help over the next couple of weeks. And I'm so appreciative and grateful for Heather and her podcast for giving me something to think about, for Lindsay and Adriana for sharing their superpowers with the world and with me, and of course for Megan for really kind of taking me in this last week and showing me so much support and kindness, and of course to you for being here and for listening to the inner workings of my brain. And ultimately, I hope you feel some validation that whatever you're seeing on social media, whatever you're hearing in a quick conversation with friends or group text messages, that there's always a behind the scenes. There's always more going on than you realize. There's always growth. There's always like a stop and reevaluate point, and there are always people out there that want to help you. You just have to let them. Okay? All right. I think that's where I want to leave it for now. Just, we all get stuck. We all grow, we all change, and we all get help to come out of it. Okay? All right. I said that's where I was going to leave it, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay. I'll see you next time. Bye.